Welcome to the Great Reset, or what I like to call the Great Re-Shit. That's where they take some old shit, dust it off, and repurpose it as new shit. Now, you may have heard of the Great Reset by one of its more familiar names, like Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, or my personal favorite, the New World Order. And don't be fooled by the term reset, because they don't plan on resetting anything. A reset is when your Super Mario game glitches, so you take out the cartridge, you blow in it, you stick it back in, and boom, up pops Mario again. This is kind of like that, except when you turn the game back on, instead of Mario on your screen, it's Bowser coming out of the TV to murder your grandma. We're talking about the complete transformation of humanity into a godless transhumanist nightmare from Orwellian hell. I want to direct your attention to the World Economic Forum, who created this demonic plan, and more specifically to their chief, Klaus Schwab. Now, Mr. Schwab likes to throw around a lot of buzzwords to convince the masses that this agenda is for the betterment of humanity. Words like sustainability and inclusivity and equality for all. But in his 2016 book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, he's a lot more candid about the elitist plan for world domination. Let's skim through some excerpts from this literary masterpiece, shall we? The tools of the Fourth Industrial Revolution enable new forms of surveillance and other means of control that run counter to healthy open societies. Oh, well, that sounds helpful. Public crime is likely to decrease due to the convergence of sensors, cameras, AI, and facial recognition software. These technologies can intrude into the hitherto private space of our minds, reading our thoughts and influencing our behavior. Sounds a lot like mind control, but that's a conspiracy, so it can't be. As capabilities in this area improve, the temptation for law enforcement agencies and courts to use techniques to determine the likelihood of criminal activity, assess guilt, or even possibly retrieve memories directly from people's brains will increase. Even crossing a national border might one day involve a detailed brain scan to assess an individual's security risk. And last but definitely not least, the future will challenge our understanding of what it means to be human from both a biological and a social standpoint. Better call up Sarah Connor. Now, unless you've been microdosing sedatives for the past 8 months, I'm sure you've realized by now that the CV-19 pandemic was manufactured to kickstart this agenda. And if you haven't noticed, congratulations. There's a very good chance that you'll escape vaporization. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. But the invisible boogeyman narrative won't hold up forever, and the WEF is well aware of that. That's why they have a backup crisis to carry the agenda home. What crisis would that be? That's right, you guessed it, our good old friend, global warming. For those of you who don't know, global warming is a manufactured crisis created by the Club of Rome. A crisis think tank created in 1968 in order to convince the masses to agree to their own demise. So be prepared to hear about all the sacrifices you're gonna have to make in order to save the planet. Sacrifices like giving up your property rights, being forced into smart cities, and being injected with nanotechnology so they can track you down for thought crimes. Now, why anyone in their right mind would think it's a good idea to give the very elitists who destroyed the planet more power to now save the planet is beyond me, but hey, we're talking about the same species who eats Tide Pods and thinks polyester can protect you from a virus.
Yes, people, we are back. RHTVLive is on air. Yep. So, we're streaming live from Maastricht. Ja, live vanuit Maastricht, mensen. RHTVLive. We zagen net een introductie van een mooie dame. Die had het over het World Economic Forum. En, heb ik wel eens eerder van gehoord. Wie zou er bij de World Economic Forum werken? Even kijken hoor. Let's see who works for the World Economic Forum, right? Now this guy here, this is our Prime Minister, right? 1992, graduated and joined Unilever. Human Resource Manager, responsible for staff training, in charge of several reorganizations. 1997 became Personnel Manager van den Berg Nederland, Calvé, part of Unilever. worked on a reorganization in 2002, appointed Director of Human Resources, Iglomora Group, Unilever subsidiary, July 2002, June 2004, State Secretary for Social Affairs and Employment, First and Second Balkan governments. Yeah, we also had a dweeb called Jan Peter Balkenende. He's a real dweeb, man. You know, Jan Peter Balkenende. Here you go. He used to have the name Harry Potter. You know, because if you put that picture next to Harry Potter, you'll see that there is a resemblance, right? Let's see. Harry Potter. So, images. Let's see. Let's see if the Prime Minister, someone looks like Harry Potter, right? So, here you go. Here you have a picture of Harry Potter. Now, Jan Peter Balkenende kind of looks that way, right? Kind of looks that way. You know, maybe in his younger years. Now he's old and gray and stuff like that. But that was the Prime Minister before Mark Rutte. Yeah. And he was in both cabinets. Now, Balkenende had 4 cabinets, just as Mark Rutte. Yep. So, ja mensen, Jan Peter Balkenende, wie kan hem nog vergeten? De Harry Potter van Nederland. Die ging het allemaal goed toveren en zoiets. En ja, wat mis ik toch, Harry Potter? Nu hebben we een vervangende Harry Potter. En ja, deze knakworst, die is echt erg. Die is echt erg. De hele middenstand gaat gewoon weg. Wordt weggevaagd. Ik heb het je gezegd bij RHTVLive. Niemand wou luisteren. En nu zitten we er middenin. Ja. Nu zitten we er gewoon middenin. En deze knakworst, ja, die zegt van, ja, Oekraïne. Rusland valt Oekraïne aan. Nou, geven dus 80 miljoen aan Oekraïne. Ja, serieus, ik bedenk het niet, hè. 80 miljoen. Miljoen. Ja. Nederland zegt 80 miljoen euro extra steun toe. Echt. Ik kom niet uit mijn woorden. Maar Harry Potter 2.0, die kan dus 80 miljoen uit zijn mouw toveren. Ja, dit is Harry Potter 2.0. Kan 80 miljoen uit zijn mouw toveren. En die, ja, het is onvoorstelbaar. De Nederlander krijgt niks. De MKB stort in elkaar. Ja. En dat is allemaal volgens plan van de World Economic Forum. Ja. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Ja. Dus, dit is de vijand van de mensheid. Zo kun je het een beetje zien. Even kijken, waar waren we? Hier, januari, mei 2003, member of the House and Representatives for the People's Party, Freedom and Democracy, VVD. Is hij dus lid geworden? Binnen de hoogste rangen is hij daar lid. June 2004, July 2006, State Secretary for Education, Culture and Science. De second Balkan in the government. Ja, ook dat heeft hij dus gedaan. Cultuur en onderwijs. En ja, sinds juni 2006 tot oktober 2010 leider VVD, Parliamentary Party. Ja, dus in het parlement. Oktober 2010 present. Vanaf 2010 tot aan hedendaags hebben we te maken met prime minister Mark Rutte. Ja. Nou, waarom is dit allemaal van belang? Zoals ik al zei, het gaat om andere belangen buiten Nederland. Dat is ook de reden waarom we geopolitiek geven. Dus Nederland, die wist dat er een oorlog was in Oekraïne. Dat wisten zij. Dat wisten zij. Dus eigenlijk had MH17 niet mogen vliegen over Oekraïne. Ja, zij wisten dit. Zij wisten dit. Hier hebben we dus beelden vanuit Oekraïne. Dit is dus in 2014. Dan had je dus een machtsvacuüm. Kwamen dus rellen en zoiets. En ook sluipschutters, snipers. Snipers fire at Maidan protesters. So this was happening during the coup in Kiev, right? In the capital of Ukraine. There were snipers and they were shooting at police officers. They were shooting at protesters. You know, these snipers came from Georgia, if I'm correct about that. You know, so basically they overthrew the government. You know, more factions overthrowing a government, and the U.S. is to blame on that. We have Victoria Nuland, and you know. So we're going to take a look at this, but first go back to the studio.
Медик терміново потрібен, хлопці, терміново потрібен медик на повну сцену. На Інститутську потрібні медики там ранені. У кого є, викликайте сюди. Звертаємося до медичних працівників міста Києва. Ваша допомога потрібна на Майдані. Прохання прибувати до нас. Вам потрібні карети швидкої допомоги, швидкі допомоги. Викликайте швидку. Я ще раз звертаюся, шановні наші майданівці, хто має медичну освіту, хто має... Ви оточені, вам не ставиться. Нам зараз є два важливих оголошення. Терміново, до глобуса нашого, до Заставої, потрібні медики, терміново. Ті медики, які є, допомагаємо зараз медична бригада. Резерв слухає виключно сотників.
Ліве і право, розійдіться, дайте пройти медика. Полонених не бийте, полонених супроводжуйте державі.
Чоловік, він підійде зараз, до цього не 50 чоловік.
So basically, that is what happened during the coup in Kiev, right? Now we're going to show you guys some foreign intervention within Ukraine, right? We have to understand the situation about Ukraine. We have to understand what's going on. So we're going to take a look at Victoria Nuland, who was talking to Jeffrey Pyatt, right, which is the American ambassador of Ukraine, and they're talking about, changing the seats of power. So you have that going on, right, which we just showed this year. You have that going on, and behind the scenes, you have this going on, right? So we're going to take a look at this. Ja, mensen, terwijl dit gebeurt op straat, is er achter de schermen dit hier aan de hand. Victoria Nuland, die praat dus met Jeffrey Pyatt over de wisseling van macht. Ze hebben Yanukovych verdreven, die is naar Rusland toegegaan. Nu moeten we de machtspositie gaan invullen. Ja. Dus we gaan even hier naar kijken. Eerst terug naar de studio.
When you're a high-ranking official talking about diplomatic efforts in Ukraine, the last thing you want to do is drop your guard.
So that would be great, I think, to help glue this thing and have the UN help glue it. And, the EU.
But that is exactly what reportedly happened between US Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland and US Ambassador to Ukraine Jeffrey Pyatt. The exchange has since surfaced online, including the crude swipe at the European Union. The audio clip of a woman and man, said to be Nuland and Pyatt, hears them discussing strategies to work with the three main opposition figures.
I don't think Klitsch should go into the government. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a good idea.
In terms of him not going into the government, just let him sort of stay out and do his political homework and stuff. I'm just thinking in terms of sort of the process moving ahead, we want to keep the moderate Democrats together. The problem is going to be Tony Book and his guys. And, I'm sure that's part of what Yanukovych is calculating on all of this.
I think Yats is the guy who's got the economic experience, the governing experience. He's the guy, what he needs is Klitsch and Tony Book on the outside. He needs to be talking to them 4 times a week. I just think Klitsch going in, he's going to be at that level working for Yatsenyuk. It's just not going to work.
There is a suggestion for Nuland to contact Klitschko directly to play to his top dog sensibilities, while Nuland refers to getting the United Nations involved in a political solution. And that's where the unfortunate comment arises.
I'm obviously not going to comment on private diplomatic conversations.
Dus ze geeft geen commentaar op het gesprek dat plaatsvond tussen haar en Jeffrey Pyatt. Geeft ze geen commentaar op. Maar we kunnen wel Trump impeachen omdat hij Zelensky gebeld heeft, de nieuwe president. Snap je hoe het spel werkt? Het gaat allemaal om macht. Daar gaat het om. Ja? En Oekraïne, dat zit dus onder de macht van Amerika. Ja, toen Oekraïne onafhankelijk werd, want ja, het was eerst een onderdeel van de USSR, dat kennen we nog wel, de ouderen onder ons, die weten nog wel de Berlijnse muur en zoiets. Dus de USSR, daar behoorde Oekraïne onder. Ja, Amerika heeft dat gedwarsboomd middels Project Hammer. Bush zat bij de CIA, dus die gebruikte zijn CIA-vriendjes om dus infrastructuur te gaan opkopen in Rusland en daar niks mee doen. Gewoon laten vallen. Ja. En zo kregen dus de roebelcrisis. Ja. Maar toen Oekraïne onafhankelijk werd, in 1991, wie zien we dan daar bij het parlement? Wie zien we bij het parlement? Hey, George Bush. Georgie. CIA asset Bush, right? This was when Ukraine got rid of the USSR, right? The USSR fell apart. Bush actually did this with his Project Hammer. He bought up Russian infrastructure and did nothing with it, didn't invest in that and stuff like that. And then the Russian Union fell. Yeah. So Ukraine is basically a puppet state of the US, right? And this is not what Moscow wants, So now you have the coup in Ukraine. Yanukovych was overthrown, and you place in what's his name, that chocolate farmer, Poroshenko. Yeah, and Poroshenko, the east of Ukraine was like, wait a minute, we did not vote for this guy, because there were like elections, and the east said, no, we're not going to vote. We're not going to vote, including Crimea, right? So a large chunk of the population did not vote, right? And Poroshenko said, hey, we need to come together, this and that, and, we need to talk about this. This is a democratic elected, process and this and that. And this was basically the big lie Poroshenko sold to the west of Ukraine, right? So what happened then? Well, we're going to see Patrick Lancaster, who's been in the east of Ukraine ever since the East said, hey, we're not going to abide by this new government over here, So this happened 5 years ago, and let's see where it, I believe it's Luhansk. Yeah, Luhansk. So let's put that on the map. Luhansk. There, he's right over there. This happened 5 years ago, long before Russia intervened. And we're going to take a look at this here. But first, we're going to go back to the studio and cut off the mic.
Четверка на связи. Четверка на связи. Попадали.
There was just a incoming shell. We're under Ukrainian shelling right now in the trenches outside Debaltseve. They're hitting very close right now.
So now there's shelling landing quite near us here on the front lines of conflict on Debaltseve.
We're under intense shelling coming from Ukrainian positions right now.
Straight up guide de Frankrijk Brige, gleef in Hollandse de Voy.
Several incoming shells are coming right now.
Патрик, не вставай.
Да, и не вставать.
Еще выше. Да. Выхода.
Stop произошло сейчас.
Произошло обстрел минометный с Васильков.
Нет, это САУ.
Васильки.
Не. Работает САУ.
Тихо.
Да?
Да, работает 152-е именно САУшки. Калибр 152.
Кто стреляет?
Да, они. Вот, это приход САУ.
Кто они?
Это укропы стреляют по нам. Вот, и сами видели. Не успели даже и чай попить. А мы так обрадовались, хотели чайку попить, я заварил.
С Васильков.
Нет, это САУ.
Васильки.
Не. Работает САУ.
Тихо.
Да?
Да, работает 152-е именно САУшки. Калибр 152.
Кто стреляет?
Да, они. Вот, это приход САУ.
Кто они?
Это укропы стреляют по нам.
You see, the Ukraine wanted the east of Ukraine to comply with them, and they used their armed forces, right, to take over the city. You know, shooting at Ukrainians, basically, Russian Ukrainians. This is madness. You know? And basically you had a referendum in Crimea, and Crimea said, hey, we're going to join Russia, okay? We don't want to be involved in this war, right? And now you have let's see, Patrick Lancaster, Ukraine referendum, right? And the referendum said, we want to join Russia. So this whole part here, Lugansk, Donetsk, Mariupol, this whole part here, Severodonetsk, and all that, this is now part of Russia. They're even celebrating that here in this live event, right? So, you know, this is happening. And we're going to take a look at Ukraine's response on that. The actor Zelensky
reaction coming through from Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, who's spoken following the ceremony in Moscow, in which Moscow claimed occupied regions of Ukraine into Russia. Let's listen in.
Today we're here. In the community of free nations. We can see who is threatening us, who is prepared to kill us and maim us, who would not stop at any atrocity in order to expand their area of control. On the 24th of February, the first full-scale strike was carried out against Ukraine. That was the first one. Russia was not stopping and would not have stopped on our borders had we not stopped it. Other countries would be jeopardized. The Baltics.
You are lying. You are lying. We have Patrick Lancaster right in the front lines, right? And, you know, we just saw a video of a shelling long before Russians were there. You are lying, Zelensky. You are an enemy of humanity, right? That is the Russian response. And my response is, hey, it's not my war. I'm not going to fight it. Screw you. You know, I'm not going to fight people I don't know. So keep us out of it. And Mark Rutte, you have to keep us out of it. You are an idiot. Okay, you're a stooge. Just like Jan Peter Balkenende. You're a stooge, man. You don't know history. You know? You said, there's no country that attacked Russia. Yeah, wait a minute. EU report. There you go. This is a EU-backed report. And an independent report blamed Georgia on Wednesday for starting last year's 5-day war with Russia. Right? Russia's been under attack ever since, Russia was there, basically. Ongelooflijk wat hij allemaal lult. Onze minister-president. So we're going to take a look at this here. This happened back in 91, right? And this is how Ukraine became a puppet state for the US.
We will support those in the center and the republics who pursue freedom, democracy, and economic liberty. We will determine our support not on the basis of personalities, but on the basis of principles. And we cannot tell you how to reform your society. We will not try to pick winners and losers in political competition between republics or between republics in the center. That is your business. It's not the business of the United States of America. Do not doubt our real commitment, however, to reform. Do not think we can presume to solve your problems for you. Theodore Roosevelt, one of our great presidents, once wrote, "To be patronized is as offensive as to be insulted." No one of us cares permanently to have someone else conscientiously striving to do him good. What we want to work with, that's someone else for the good of both of us. That's what our former president said. We will work for the good of both of us, which means that we will not meddle in your internal affairs.
When you're a high-ranking official talking about diplomatic efforts in Ukraine, the last thing you want to do is drop your guard.
So that would be great, I think, to help glue this thing and have the UN help glue it. And, the EU.
But that is exactly what reportedly happened between US Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland and US Ambassador to Ukraine Jeffrey Pyatt. The exchange has since surfaced online, including the crude swipe at the European Union. The audio clip of a woman and man said to be Newland and Payet. Here's them discussing strategies to work with the three main opposition figures.
I don't think Cleach should go into the government. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a good idea.
In terms of him not going into the government, just let him sort of stay out and do his political homework and stuff. I'm just thinking in terms of sort of the process moving ahead, we want to keep the moderate Democrats together. The problem is going to be Tony Book and his guys. And, you know, I'm sure that's part of what Yanukovych is calculating on all of this.
I think Yats is the guy who's got the economic experience, the governing experience. He's the guy, you know, what he needs is Cleach and Tony Book on the outside. He needs to be talking to them 4 times a week. You know, I just think Cleach going in, he's going to be at that level working for Yatsenyuk. It's just not going to work.
There is a
presidents once wrote, to be patronized is as offensive as to be insulted. No one of us cares permanently to have someone else conscientiously striving to do him good. What we want to work with, that's someone else for the good of both of us. That's what our former president said. We will work for the good of both of us, which means that we will not meddle in your internal affairs.
We will not meddle in your internal affairs, right? Nou, we gaan ons niet bemoeien hoor met jullie interne dingen. Nee, dat doen we niet. Nee. Ondertussen heb je dus Victoria Nuland conspiring with, what's his name, Jeffrey Payet, and saying, you know, we gotta put that guy in power or that guy, or, you know, we're not gonna interfere in your affairs, right? Bush, right? Well, it's because Ukraine is not independent. It's a puppet state of the US, right? This is what's happening. This is why a war is being waged in the east of Ukraine, right? And this is why the referendum came through and why the east is now part of Russia. This is also a balancing scale for Russia and Ukraine, you know, because now the paradigm is shifted, right? So when Ukraine wants to attack the east again with NATO support, with Dutch support, I'm really ashamed of this, you know, when they want to take over the east, they're basically attacking Russia, you know. So very, very dangerous circumstances, but the Ukrainians are angry, as you can see, and the Russians are glad, as you can see here. Oh, we're not going to play any music because of copyright issues and stuff. But people in Russia are glad that Ukraine is back in Russia. They say Mother Russia, you know. So this is a situation on the ground in Ukraine, right? Now, there's a lot happening in the world. Let's take a look at Burkina Faso. Because there was a coup in Burkina Faso, 4 coups basically, and now during the 4th coup, the situation is stable, right? Now, last night there was fighting in the capital. Let's see if we can pull that up, right? Here, heavy gunfire. We're going to cut off the mic first, otherwise you get echo.
In Burkina Faso, there has been heavy gunfire overnight in the capital, Ouagadougou. The military is on the ground and has taken control of major streets and other strategic installations. Television and radio signals are down. For more on this story, let's bring in Nicholas Haak, who joins us via Skype from St. Louis, a town just north of Dakar in Senegal. And Nick, what more do we know about this attack?
Well, residents that we spoke to told me that they were stunned. They were woken up by gunfire in the middle of the night around 3 o'clock in the capital of Ouagadougou, heavy gunfire. And right now, just moments ago, we heard reports of a loud explosion just outside the presidential palace. That's Sociaal in the wealthy suburbs of Ouagadougou. Now, the head of state, Colonel Damiba, that took over power in January, well, we haven't heard from him. There hasn't been any official announcement. And there's a feeling of confusion among many people in Ouagadougou of who's behind this and what are their motivations. Now, there's also, one resident told me, a feeling of what he said, déjà vu. Of course, in January, we saw the same mode of operandi where we saw the military take over strategic locations in the capital, the parliament, the presidential palace, the streets, the radio and television station. And that was when Damiba took over in a coup in January. So far, there's still no announcement made of why there's doing this, but there's been mounting grievances amongst the ranks of the military ever since there has been a step up of attacks from armed groups linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIL. Emily?
Nick, what led up to this deadly incident? I mean, only yesterday there were protests in the streets about the security situation in Burkina Faso. Tell us a little bit more about the leader.
Well, yes, when Damiba took power in January, he made one pledge: to try to bring back security for people in Burkina Faso because of the uptick in terms of the number of attacks. There's been millions of people displaced just this year alone. Except that since he's taken over power, there's been even more attacks. Just a few days ago, like you mentioned, there was a protest, but on the heels of that, there was a convoy of several members of the military that were killed. Now, officially, the government said that only 11 people were killed. Some people that we spoke to in the ranks of the military said there were many more that died, and that they were accusing the government of covering up information. There's a sense that those that are on the front line in the north, in the west, where there are attacks from groups linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIL, are disconnected from their higher-ranking officers that are in Ouagadougou. And that disconnect is leading to resentment amongst the ranks of the military, because Damiba came with this promise to bring back peace and security, except it's really gotten worse and there's more division. There's this feeling that Damiba has really focused on trying to bring back the old guard, and what I'm alluding here to is the former president, Blaise Compaoré. Remember, Emily, in 2014, he was deposed in a popular uprising. We've seen key figure of his regime, specifically members of the military, take up senior ranks in Damiba's government. But now, for the moment, what people are wanting to know is who's in charge of the country and who is behind, who is ordering these soldiers on the streets of Ouagadougou. So there's a lot of confusion on who's in charge, and people hoping that we'll get some clarification in the hours to come. Emily?
Yeah, valid questions to ask. Thank you very much for the update, as always. Nicholas Haak, live for us just north of Dakar in Senegal.
So there you have that, right? There's a lot happening in the world. There's also a tornado watch, basically. And I hope the Floridians are okay. I hope Florida is coping. as far as I know, there are like wooden houses over there. So, make stone houses. That is way, way better. They can withstand the winds and stuff. So, yep. Er is a lot happening, people. Er gebeurt zoveel. Het is onvoorstelbaar. En we doen het ook nog in 2 talen. We proberen gewoon de situatie uit te leggen. We kijken dus naar Burkina Faso. Onrust daar zo. There's unrest in Burkina Faso. So it's on the radar now. It's like bleep on the radar. So we're taking a look at the world. And in Qatar, which is an absolute monarchy, right? They have absolute power. There's going to be a World Cup. Yep. And not far from Qatar, there's a war still brewing in Yemen. The Houthis took power in Sana'a. And basically, they're armed and stuff like that. And Saudi Arabia is still trying to overthrow the Houthis in Sana'a. And, they can't do that. Even though there is a new government formed in Saudi Arabia for Yemen when they drive out the Houthis, right? So, but there is a World Cup going on in Qatar in November, and let's hope that people will be treated good, because during the World Cup, or actually before the World Cup, before this whole thing started to come, Qatar did not have any stadiums, right? So a lot of people worked on the stadiums and got killed during construction and stuff like that. And the king is like, I don't care, send some money to the family. I don't care. So, and now, as I saw at Al Jazeera, they are having remarks about the outfit of Denmark, right? Let's see if we can. Qatar responds to Denmark World Cup jersey. So let's see what that is.
Seven weeks until kick-off in the 2022 World Cup, and Qatar is putting the final touches to more than a decade's worth of preparation and expansion. New stadiums, new infrastructure, one entire new city. But as the teams prepare to come, some are staging quiet protests. Denmark's kit will be toned down, including a black shirt which the manufacturer calls the colour of mourning, saying it highlights the deaths of thousands of migrant workers in World Cup construction projects.
Great to meet you. Come and take a seat.
At the World Football Summit in Seville on Thursday, the message: such concerns have been and are being properly addressed.
We have to say that there has been a lot of improvements that happened in that front. We've used the World Cup in a very positive way as a catalyst to drive this change.
Denmark isn't alone. England's Football Association is calling for compensation for workers who died or were injured. The team captain posing with a pro-LGBT armband. Homosexuality is illegal in Qatar. For Qatar, this tournament is a major play for global recognition and reputation. So how will it handle such protests?
All the teams will come and will play. Some of them will come, say, in a different way than the other. But at the end of the day, this tournament is going to be successful. This tournament is going to be a tournament that's going to remain in the books of history for years and years to come.
Under intense scrutiny since it won the bid, Qatar has made reforms to its labour laws, allowing migrant workers to switch employers and mandating improved working conditions. But rights activists say the reforms aren't fully enforced, and deaths linked to working practices have often gone uncounted.
Qatar's labour law requires compensation when those deaths are worker-related. And so we do need to ensure that those deaths are investigated and that there are preventative measures from taking place to ensure that deaths are not happening in the first place.
At this major football industry event, the talk was of what the first Winter World Cup would bring. High-quality play, a compact, culturally diverse tournament designed to be carbon neutral. The message here from Qatar is that now is the time to focus on the delivery of this tournament, the upcoming moment of truth. But it's clear that the years of criticism, particularly on the issue of migrant workers, won't simply melt away once the football is underway. And indeed, some of it will come from the teams themselves. Harry Fawcett, Al Jazeera, Seville.
So do you guys see that? You see the stadium here? Well, 6,500 migrant workers have died building the stadiums and stuff like that. Just to kick a ball, all right? These people have lost their family member, their father, their uncle, whatever, you know, and it's basically income that they lose. And a family member, of course, but also a stable form of income, right? So, and these people in power, they do not care. They do not care. We send the Dutch team to Qatar. If I were Prime Minister of the Netherlands, I would say no. No. People have died in Qatar, man. I'm not going to work with this, you know. Screw that. We're going to wait next World Cup. You know? And you saw the response of Denmark. It's like in black. Don't play in black, you know, not in the desert. Not a good idea. Well, let's see, the World Cup groups. Let's see who Denmark has to play. Right? There you go. Here. Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, and the Netherlands, right? So England, Iran, USA, and Wales. We have Argentina in Group C, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Poland. Group D, we have France, Australia, Denmark. Yeah, they're going to play in black. En Tunesië. Ja, ze gaan met een zwart tenue. Gaan ze ook spelen. Niet zo slim in de woestijn. Maar goed. Hier hebben we dan Spanje, Costa Rica, Duitsland en Japan. België, Canada. I pray that the Canadians were going to get far, man. You know, I like the Canadians. They got a good team. Morocco and Croatia, Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, and Cameroon. In Group H, Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, and Korea Republic. We're still waiting for North Korea to join. Maar ja, dit is het. Dit is de verhouding. Ja, wat denken jullie? Volgens mij wordt Nederland hier zo nummer 1. Ja, dan gaat het spannend tussen Ecuador en Senegal. Het zijn twee ploegen die aan elkaar gewaagd zijn. Ja, Qatar die verliest gewoon. Ja. De eerste wedstrijd is Qatar-Ecuador. Hier Engeland, ja, die wordt wel eerste. En Amerika wordt tweede. Ja, Iran die komt niet ver. Wales, ja, jammer voor hen. Hier Argentinië en Mexico. Ja, Polen en Saudi-Arabië. Ik denk niet dat er veel kans is. Dan krijgen we Frankrijk en Denemarken. Ja, in groep D. Groep E kregen we dan Spanje en Duitsland. Ja. Groep F, ja, dit blijft zo, hè. België en Canada. Brazilië en ja, Zwitserland maakt ook wel een hele goede kans. Goede spelers. Portugal en ja, Zuid-Korea, denk ik. I think the Korean Republic. So, who knows? That's my predictions. So, and Canada is gonna be knocked out in the quarterfinal, I guess. Or yeah, quarterfinal. So we will see. We will see who will be the world champion, and is that very important? Ever since it's in Qatar, you know. So 6,500 migrant workers have died. Yep. So we're closing off. We gaan er weer vandoor. En om 9 uur, 9 o'clock, European time, right? Netherlands. I have to think back, wait. 9 o'clock minus 6. It's 3 o'clock in the US on the East Coast, right? So, I thank you all for watching. C3T4S is back on air, and we're going to talk about the situation in Ukraine. You know, so it's good to have some background info. And yeah, I will be on panel, and we'll see each other at C3T4S. Yeah. So thank you all for watching. Ja, bij C3T4S mensen, daar gaan we weer live, gaan we weer over Oekraïne praten. En ja, vrede, dat hebben we nodig. Vrede, we need peace, man. We need peace, not war, right? Dus, kijk om 9 uur bij C3T4S. En dan zou je mij op de panel zien. Dus, doei mensen. Dank voor het kijken. Dank voor het delen. And I hope you guys learned something now about Ukraine, about the situation in Ukraine and stuff. So we will be back at Frankie's C3T4S.